I apologize for the tabloid-esque title, but this really is urgent because I meant to make this video a while ago, but then my house's main sewer line was acting up, so I've been spending all my time recently sawing through the cast iron sewer line under the concrete slab that I had to bust up. Anyway, so this video will only be coming out the very day that you need to make sure to follow up on it. I'll get through my main point here in the first several minutes or so that if you're pressed for time, you can tune out after that. Today is the Vigil of Divine Mercy Sunday. This is the day on which Jesus told Saint Faustina in these fully approved private revelations that all the divine floodgates through which divine grace flow are opened. Everything he has to give, he wants to give it on this day especially, and that's kind of a big deal. There is no other day of the year to be prepared for what lies ahead like today. And this year, this moment that we're in now, I mean, practically this week here in Easter of 2025 is utterly urgent. And there's many reasons for that. Let's point out one for now, just the obvious one. We are without a pope. Pope Francis has just died. God rest his soul. We love you, Holy Father. But for now, in a sense, we are without a catechon, a restrainer, which holds back the activity of the lawless one, as noted in 2 Thessalonians in the Bible. That restrainer holds back the strong delusion. Now, I'm not saying this is apocalyptic in and of itself, to have a briefly vacant see. Obviously, we're always without a pope for a time when one dies. But we are in a unique situation today. There's reasons for great concerns amid the next conclave, and I hope to speak about the details of that in another video soon. And of course, we've got chaos in the world scene, continuing looming specter of the Third World War, global uncertainty, many alleged prophecies indicating that the time of mercy is about to run out. Long story short, this could be the most important Divine Mercy Sunday ever. Jesus constantly tells Saint Faustina that his mercy is infinite, but you know what he also says? That the time of mercy is not. Let me read the quote here, or one of many quotes where he alludes to the same point here in paragraph 1728. Jesus tells Saint Faustina, "Tell sinners that no one shall escape my hand. If they run away from my merciful heart, they will fall into my just hands. Tell sinners that I am always waiting for them, that I listen intently to the beating of their heart. When will it beat for me? Write that I am speaking to them through the remorse of their conscience, through their failures and sufferings, through thunderstorms, through the voice of the church." So he's speaking to us in everything. All these signs, interior, exterior, signs in the world, signs in the church, he's speaking to us through all of this. And so many people close their eyes to it. And even in the church, so many people just scoff at the idea of looking at the signs of the times. But Jesus is saying, no, he's trying to wake us up with all of that. With all of that, he's trying to tell us about this, his unfathomable mercy, but also that it won't be available forever. Anyway. "And if they bring all my graces to naught," this is back to Jesus' words to Faustina here. "If they bring all these graces to naught, then I begin to be angry with them, leaving them alone and giving them what they want." So eventually, Jesus is going to say to us, okay, I'll give you what you want. You made your bed, now sleep in it. His mercy is infinite, but the time of mercy is finite. And we are in a time of mercy now. But before I come as a just judge, Jesus says also to Saint Faustina, I first open wide the door of my mercy. He who refuses to pass through the door of my mercy must pass through the door of my justice. All right. This time of mercy has already been extended several times. It's already gone on longer than, frankly, it should have in one sense of the word, although ultimately God always knows what's going to happen and what his plan is at the end of the day. But so the problem here is that so many people have come to think, maybe most people, maybe almost all people, have come to think that this is just the norm. These extensions are just the norm, that this is the established way. Reminds me of some of my students. You know, if I give them chance after chance, they just keep thinking they'll always have chances. And then suddenly, you know what? End of the semester, and they failed because I can't push it beyond then. And Jesus doesn't tell us the day or the hour. So we don't know, end of the semester, but it's coming soon. And people seem to think that we now have a different God than the world had back when Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed. Well, that's a heresy to think that the Old Testament God is different from the New Testament God. That's the Marcionite heresy. We don't have a different God. God never changes. And the time of mercy will run out very soon. This year? Next year? In the next several years? I don't know. But soon. And in case it is this year, or in case your own judgment day comes this year, most importantly, your particular judgment, please make sure you take full advantage of this Divine Mercy Sunday. And as I was thinking and praying about this podcast here, I thought, why don't I try something a little different? Just briefly, there's only so much emphasis that my own words can give to a message. So let me just show here. I hope it works, and I hope this doesn't get my video removed for a copyright strike or something. I'm only showing a couple clips, but a couple clips from some movies. They'll be brief. They might be crummy movies, but these clips are good because they speak to a very important truth. People tend to be unprepared because they assume their lives will simply go on as they've always gone on. That's how it is today. And what that really means is being spiritually unprepared. Take a look at a couple clips here. 2012.
It's too early. My God.
Well, our scientific advance, our fancy machine.
I thought we'd have more time.
I thought we'd have more time. The backstory there is he's looking at a family. He knows that, I'm reading between the lines, but he knows that God's will for him was family, and he pushed that off for career, and he's seeing now the world collapsing before his eyes, and he says, I thought we'd have more time. And I feel that so many people are going to be saying that soon. I thought we'd have more time. And I'm asking you to not be one of those people. Yet another apocalyptic sci-fi movie. I condemn the ET deception and the UFO deception, of course. That doesn't mean I'm against sci-fi. Sci-fi can be good.
Thought we'd have more time.
Thought we'd have more time. There it is again. When their world is about to collapse, in the Dune storyline there, we've got another movie here.
The problem with most people is that they don't believe something can happen until it already has.
They don't believe something can happen until it already has. What's coming is something that most people don't believe can happen. And I won't drone on about the details in this video. I've got plenty of other videos on that. But it will happen. And I've got no predictions for you here about timetables. I'm just saying these are precarious situations we find ourselves in the church and the world. More precarious than ever before in history. And if you want to be ready for what's coming, there's one and only one way to do that. To make sure your soul is ready. And Divine Mercy Sunday is the best day to do that. Because you can treat it like your second baptism, like a new baptism. Let's get to that here. Jesus to Saint Faustina. This is from paragraph 699. There's other paragraphs that speak about this as well. But Jesus tells Saint Faustina, my daughter, tell the whole world about my inconceivable mercy. I desire that the feast of my mercy be a refuge and a shelter for all souls. People speak of, what is my refuge for the days ahead? Well, it's the divine mercy. On that day, the very depths of my tender mercy are open. I pour out a whole ocean of graces. upon those souls who approach the fount of my mercy. The soul that will go to confession and receive Holy Communion shall obtain complete forgiveness of sins and punishment. On that day, all the divine floodgates through its grace flow are open. Let no soul fear to draw near to me, even though its sins be as scarlet. My mercy is so great that no mind, be it of man or of angel, will be able to fathom it throughout all eternity. We think we can't fathom it now. We can't. Even when we have that beatific vision, we won't be able to fathom his mercy. And he's telling us he wants to pour it all out on this one specific day of the year. And of course, he'll do it on other days as well. But if we want to find the whole floodgates open, seek it out, especially on Divine Mercy Sunday, because it comes with this extraordinary promise of a complete remission of all sin and punishment. So if you are as miserable and unworthy a sinner as I am, then that's really exciting for you to hear. So let's together take this opportunity to start our lives anew in God's grace so that we will be ready for anything that comes our way. If you want to know more details about Divine Mercy in general, Divine Mercy Sunday, please see Father Chris Alar's videos. There's plenty of great teachings he has on that here on YouTube. They're your best bet. But it's funny, I was watching one of those videos recently, and I happened to see a comment underneath it from someone there. And he said, it was something like, oh, well, Protestants, we have all this already. You know, this is already what we think all the time. We just say, you know, sorry, Jesus. And then it's no purgatory, clean slate, right to heaven, faith alone, once saved, always saved. You Catholics think you get it once a year? And after I read that comment, I was thinking, yeah, good point. Only there's this one little difference. In the case of Divine Mercy Sunday, that promise is true. But you have to be Catholic for that. So if you're not Catholic, become Catholic. Just do it. Trust me. Your family, they'll be angry for a bit, but then they'll become Catholic too. And you'll all be 100 times happier than you've ever been. Now, if you're Catholic and if you're in a state of mortal sin, cut it out right now. Whatever the mortal sin is, just get rid of it right now. You're one confession away from friendship with God. If you're committing immoral deeds with somebody else, text that person right now saying, done. If you've got illicit media, delete it all, throw it away. If you're doing illicit drugs, throw it all, whatever, just do it right now. You're always one act of the will away from a state of grace, basically. Confession seals the deal, of course. Anyway, get to confession, and then after that, receive communion on Divine Mercy Sunday. If you have to bang down some doors of priests to make sure you can get to confession before communion time, Divine Mercy Sunday, do it. Just if you're in a state of mortal sin, get to confession so you can receive communion on Divine Mercy Sunday. If you're a Catholic in a state of grace, get to confession within a reasonable time of Divine Mercy Sunday, whether before or after, but make sure you receive communion on Divine Mercy Sunday. The Vigil Mass on Saturday evening, that will count because that's, liturgically Divine Mercy Sunday. Venerate the Divine Mercy image. You can, I usually have Divine Mercy image right next to me. I cleaned up, and I don't have one at the moment. Anyway, just venerate a Divine Mercy image. Find one online if you don't have one physically handy. Jesus, I trust in you. Kneel before that image. Venerate his mercy. Meditate on this rays of mercy pouring out from his sacred heart into your soul. Jesus, I trust in you. And I'd also encourage you to add, thy will be done. I give you my will. Please give me yours in return. Pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet. You don't have to do that for the promise, but I strongly encourage it. St. Faustina, when she was shown the Divine Mercy Chaplet in the diary, it was revealed to her by Jesus. She's this extraordinary mystic. You can't even believe the depths of her contemplation and meditation and mystical experiences. And you know what she said? After she prayed this Divine Mercy Chaplet that was revealed to her, she said, I have never prayed with such power. These simple words that you can pray, Eternal Father, for the sake of his sorrowful passion. It's a simple prayer. Just look up how to pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet. It's only like a 7-minute prayer. Pray it well, and you will pray with more power than ever before. if you've never prayed that before, because it's kind of like a participation in the Mass by the laity. It's of course not literally confecting the Eucharist, only a priest can do that, but all the laity through their baptismal priesthood can offer this sacrifice in tandem with the priest through this Divine Mercy Chaplet. So do those things and start your new life after you receive communion, or even before, on Divine Mercy Sunday. Just do it. You've known for a long time what you need to stop doing. Stop doing it. You've known for a long time what you need to start doing. Start doing it. Let's not complicate things. Now is the very acceptable time. Now is the day of salvation. Now, I know I started this video with a warning that God's justice on this world is imminent, and I believe that. And maybe some people would call that a threat, but I think of it more as just a warning. And that was to wake people up. But you don't want fear of the hard times to remain your main motivation. That's helpful for rousing us out of our spiritual slumber. But you want to move on from that. I mean, don't ignore it. It's important. But you want your main motivation to come from excitement at what God is calling you to, not fear of what might be coming if you don't do what you should do. Excitement at your extraordinary mission that God has planned for you. That is what you want to motivate you. So with that in mind, with the remaining minutes here, I just want to share some quotes from St. Faustina's diary, Divine Mercy in My Soul, that have always motivated me, and I hope they motivate you as well. I've got here my copy of Divine Mercy on My Soul that I read many, many years ago, back when my wife and I were dating and engaged. We would always read 3 pages of the same spiritual book each day, and it would kind of ground our conversations in God and holy things. Don't worry, we talk about other things as well. But it was a practice I highly recommend to any couple. And we did that for a number of books, but my favorite book that we did that with was, well, this one I have in my hands right here. It's a spiritual treasure chest. I highly recommend reading it. You will not regret it, and it will change your life. So let's take a look at just a few passages here. I could go on for many hours sharing passages I love from the diary, but I'll stick with just a few. We got paragraph 291 here. Remember, the theme here is excitement at what God is calling us to. How very easy it is to become holy, St. Faustina writes. All that is needed is a bit of goodwill. If Jesus sees this little bit of goodwill in the soul, he hurries to give himself to the soul, and nothing can stop him. Neither shortcomings nor falls. Absolutely nothing. Let me pause there. That bit of goodwill. Muster up that bit of goodwill. Even that will require God's grace, because grace, everything comes through grace. But if you want that grace, he'll give it to you. He's not stingy. Ask him for that grace. Muster up that goodwill. And if you just hold on to that grace, cooperate with that grace, nothing can stop him, because it's his work. Your sanctity is his work, not yours. And he's God. He's omnipotent. So you might fall, and it doesn't matter how horrible the fall. He'll just pick you right back up if you're willing to be picked right back up. You just keep going. Keep that goodwill going. Keep that flame alive. All right, back to the quote. Jesus is anxious to help that soul. And if it is faithful to this grace from God, it can very soon attain the highest holiness possible for a creature on earth. God is very generous and does not deny his grace to anyone. Indeed, he gives more than what we ask of him. The highest holiness possible. Jesus isn't just revealing to Faustina. I mean, these are Faustina's words, but she's commenting on her mystical experiences here as usual. He's not just saying that if it has a goodwill, it'll improve and maybe eke its way into heaven. It's saying with this goodwill, you can attain the highest holiness possible. It doesn't say to attain the highest holiness possible, you need to be kneeling on concrete all day and eating nothing and whipping yourself all day. I mean, that's a penance sacrifice, absolutely. But the point is, God will show you what he wants of you down the road. What you need, absolutely, what you need solely is goodwill. And of course, All goodness comes from God, so this is another way of saying to simply, sincerely desire God's will. That desire for God's will, the sincere desire for God's will instead of your will, that can very quickly, quote, very soon, enable you to attain the highest holiness possible. And if you're attaining the highest holiness possible, there is absolutely nothing else you could possibly lack. All right, next quote. My child, this is Jesus' direct words to St. Faustina. My child, know that the greatest obstacles to holiness are discouragement and an exaggerated anxiety. These will deprive you of the ability to practice virtue. I just was commenting on this quote. I was just live streaming with Father Mark Goring. And this quote is so key because we tend to think that sin is the greatest obstacle to holiness. And you might say, well, Daniel, obviously sin is the greatest obstacle to holiness. Isn't that just common sense? Well, not according to Jesus. And I believe, and I know these are Jesus's words. I know these are authentic revelations here. And if you actually think about this from a Catholic spiritual standpoint, it makes perfect sense. Because sins, horrible as they are, don't sin. Don't you dare sin. But if you do sin, God can pick you up from that very easily if you remain encouraged to pursue sanctity. But if you decide, I'm not going to bother trying to become a saint. It's just not for me. It's too hard. It's too high. You start to get discouraged. And maybe you might even start thinking that about salvation itself. Thinking, I'm not even going to make it to heaven. And it's that discouragement. And it's not just discouragement, anxiety, exaggerated anxiety. Because what is anxiety? Anxiety, if it's just anxiety as a biological thing, as a physiological phenomenon, we're not talking about that. We have no direct control over our emotions. But willed anxiety, choosing to be anxious, that is the problem here. Because when you're choosing to be anxious, you're actually saying in so many words, God is not omnipotent. He's not in control. Or maybe you're even daring to say he's not good. And that's blasphemous, so don't go there. If you acknowledge that God is good and he's in control, then you realize the Bible is true when it says God works all things for the good for those who love God. You love God. Tell him you love him and mean it. And if you did that, you love God. All things will work out to the good. So keep encouraged. Do not fear sin. Don't sin, but don't fear it either. Don't shy away from your calling because you're afraid that if you pursue it, you might sin. No, sanctity will be found in pursuing your calling, full speed ahead, even if there's risks involved. You keep your eyes fixed on the will of God. All right, next quote. How can we attain this highest holiness possible? I said it a couple minutes ago, remain fixed in the will of God. But Faustina has a lot more to say about it than that, because there was this pivotal day early in the diary. I've spoken on this at length elsewhere, so I'll keep it brief for now. But Faustina wrote, "Do with me as you please. I subject myself to your will. As of today, your holy will shall be my nourishment." And let me pause there. That's what Faustina was saying to Jesus on this pivotal day. And what I would encourage you is to try to make this Divine Mercy Sunday be that pivotal day for you. Or if you happen to be watching this after Divine Mercy Sunday, make it today, whatever today is. There's nothing preventing it from being today. What happened after that? She says, I was extraordinarily fused with God. It was so simple. She gave Jesus her will completely. She wanted his will to be her nourishment, and then she was extraordinarily fused with God. Quote, a great mystery took place during that adoration. She was at adoration. So please seek out the graces of this living in the divine will through adoration. A mystery between the Lord and myself. And the Lord said to me, you are the delight of my heart. From today on, every one of your acts, even the very smallest, will be a delight in my eyes, whatever you do. And then Faustina writes, at that moment, I felt transconsecrated. My earthly body was the same, but my soul was different. God was now living in it with the totality of his delight. And backing off from the quote here, I know you're thinking, okay, well, that's great for Faustina, not for me. I'm just some ordinary layperson who's struggling to even keep the basics. Well, are you going to believe Faustina or not? Are you going to believe Jesus' words to her or not? I'm choosing to, and I'm not choosing, just not, I know it's true. And these writings say the highest holiness can be attained easily with good will. A bit of goodwill. Keep that bit of goodwill alive in your heart and keep seeking the will of God. Next slide. I've got to, this is not specifically from St. Faustina's diary, but I love this teaching from Father George Kasicki. He was one of the great apostles of divine mercy, and he's commenting here on the main theme of St. Faustina's Revelations. This is a great booklet he has called Be Holy. And he said, Pope John Paul II recently wrote of a new and divine holiness with which the Holy Spirit wishes to enrich Christians at the dawn of the third millennium to make Christ the heart of the world. The new and eternal holiness is a maturing of the holiness Jesus revealed in the Gospels. It is living the fullness of the Lord's Prayer. His kingdom come. That the Lord reign in our hearts now by the Holy Spirit to the glory of God the Father, that his will be done on earth now as it is in heaven. Father Kasicki then says that we live the fullness of the Our Father by becoming holy through the Holy Spirit and by doing and living in God's will on earth as in heaven. We are to become a living presence of Jesus, radiating his love and mercy as we live in and by his will. So it keeps coming back to the will of God, and there's a reason for that. And then he says, by praying, give us this day our daily bread, we are asking for the grace we need to be a living presence of Jesus on earth, a living Eucharist. End quote. So Pope St. John Paul II there, that specific homily he was giving was actually at the, I can't remember if it was the it was a homily on Saint Hannibal de Francia, who is a great saint, canonized by Pope St. John Paul II. And he was speaking about this grace of living in the divine will. Saint Hannibal de Francia was the spiritual director of the servant of God, Luisa Picaretta, who is the object of an official Vatican biography recently. This is fully approved. In fact, just several months ago, the Vatican directly gave this mystic, this servant of God mystic, its own Nihilab status. Now the highest level of approval the private revelations get. So you'll find all sorts of slanders against her online. Side with the church over some random dude in the internet who thinks he knows better than the church. The church has approved this. Anyway, this is extraordinary because Jesus tells the servant of God, Luisa Picaretta, the same thing he tells St. Faustina, that he's offering this grace of his will, and it's actually easy to receive if you want it. It doesn't excuse you from the ordinary dimensions of holiness. You still have to acquire all these virtues that the saints have always been called to, absolutely. But the point is, where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. We are living in the most sinful days in the whole history of the world. So for those who want it, for those who want God's grace, it is being poured out in abundance. You just have to want his will instead of your own will. You have to open up your heart to his mercy, no matter how horrible your sins. And please, I'm asking you on this Divine Mercy Sunday to accept that mercy. Anyway, this living in the divine will that Jesus spoke of to St. Faustina, Blessed Conchita, and Servant of God Walter Schizek, and so many other mystics, Servant of God Luis Picaretta. Jesus told St. Faustina, as I said in the beginning of this video, that on Divine Mercy Sunday, all the floodgates of divine grace are opened. You know what's interesting is that Luis Picaretta was born on Divine Mercy Sunday. So, these graces that are being offered to us now, a complete remission of sins and punishment, like a second baptism, simply by being a Catholic in a state of grace, going to confession and going to communion on Divine Mercy Sunday, a whole new start to your life, no matter what you've done. You could be a murderer. You could have had a past that would be too scandalous to even write the details of, go to communion tomorrow in a state of grace. Go to confession, go to communion, and you just started your life over. And not only that, Jesus wants to make you into an extraordinary saint. And that might be hard to believe, but I promise you it's true. And this means a mission. This is not for you to sit there basking in graces and ignore the world, unless you're one of those few called to be a hermit or something, and that's a great calling, but that's the calling of very few. Most are going to be called to, yes, bask in those graces, but also spread them. Take them out into the world. And this is the last quote I want to share from St. Faustina here. Jesus' words to her, that is. Go, fortified by my grace, and fight for my kingdom in human souls. Fight as a king's child would, and remember that the days of your exile will pass quickly, and with them the possibility of earning merit for heaven. I expect from you, my child, a great number of souls who will glorify my mercy for all eternity. My child, that you may answer my call worthily, receive me daily in Holy Communion. It will give you strength. End quote. Jesus to St. Faustina. This life will be over in a flash. So, fight as a king's child would. How would a king's child fight? With absolute confidence. For the salvation of souls. Each day on earth is so precious. Each prayer, each sacrifice, each work of mercy echoes through all eternity. Each interaction we have with anyone throughout the day inclines that person towards salvation or damnation. And we never get a do-over. We get one chance for all eternity to build up treasures in heaven which we will enjoy forever. And that one chance is what you're in right now. Since you're hearing this, you've still got that chance. So don't fret over wasted time in the past. Just don't waste time from now on. Let's build up those treasures on the other side. And let's start our new life in that direction, in God's grace, living towards eternity this Divine Mercy Sunday. God bless you.